So what a lot of people don't realize about the Paralympics is that you can't just take a bunch of disabled people and put them in competition and say, go. It just doesn't work that way. With there being so many different types of disability, levels of disability, you have visually impaired people, you have people that are physically disabled, you have people that just have cognitive disabilities. You can't just round up a bunch of people with disabilities and just say, let's go. There's a pretty complicated classification system that goes into the Paralympic Games, parasports, adaptive sports as a whole. Sports like wheelchair basketball and wheelchair rugby work off of a point system. In wheelchair rugby, it goes from 0.5 being the highest level of disability and 3.5 being the lowest level of disability. And you can't exceed a total number of 8 points on the court at the same time. Sports like paraswimming have very complicated classification systems because you have physical disabilities and you also have visual disabilities as well. Physical impairments range from S1 to S10, with S10 being the lowest level of disability and S1 being the highest level of disability. The visually impaired classification goes from S11 to S13, with S13 being the lowest level of visual impairment and S11 being the highest level of visual impairment. S11 swimmers are required to use a tapper so that they know they're approaching the wall. And you also have swimmers with intellectual disabilities, so you have the S14 class as well. I've been keeping up with para snowboard and skiing, and it is super, super cool. You've got 3 different classifications. You've got standing, sitting, and visually impaired. I took a second to write this down from my understanding of what I've read. So your classification, you have standing, sitting, and you're visually impaired. Your standing classification are people with physical impairments and they're prosthetic users. Your sitting users are also people with physical impairments, but it seems to be they have less use of their lower half of their body. So they use a custom mono ski with outriggers. It's one of the coolest thing in the world. And then you also have your visually impaired athletes, and they use a sighted guide. Watching somebody ski with a guide has to be one of the most insane things I've ever seen.